the BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker,
Play BBC Radio Cambridgeshire.
and on your radio.
The sound of Cambridgeshire is
BBC Radio Cambridgeshire.
It's 10 o'clock. Very good morning to you. It's Brunchtime Live with me, Jeremy Salis. We are revisiting the story of the Mepal Outdoor Centre out towards Ely, Chatteris, Marchway, of course. And the reason we're doing that is because there's a big campaign to try and save it because it's going to be turned into a crematorium if council plans go to plan.
Yeah, and this has been a long-running issue, Jeremy. Just for a bit of context, the Mepal Outdoor Centre, as you say, just off the A141, sort of between Ely and Chatteris, enjoyed for decades by kids and by families. Had a big climbing wall there. You could do archery, big lake too for sailing and canoeing and water sports, those sorts of activities. Also had accommodation for overnight stays, so popular with schools, even offices sort of going there for sort of team bonding sessions or for holding events at the Mepal Outdoor Centre. But it did have a troubled history financially, briefly closed in 2012, had a bit of a refurb, reopened in 2013, and then really this all started with a big fire at the end of 2016, led to it being closed because of the damage that was caused in that fire. The trust, which had been running it, handed back control to East Cambridgeshire District Council, who then pursued a new tenant to sort of reopen it and refurb it and bring the Mepal Outdoor Centre back to life. And we did hear, I think it was a couple of summers ago, that the council was hoping to reopen part of the centre in the summer of 2019, so 12 months ago. But that all went very, very quiet, and it was an issue we pursued here at BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. I remember personally emailing, looking for an update on this, Jeremy, and I was told there'll be an update when there's an update. Well, we had to wait until the end of last month for that update. A big secret behind closed doors meeting, no press allowed, of East Cambridgeshire District Council, where they unveiled these quite substantially developed plans to turn the Mepal Outdoor Centre into a crematorium, an eco-crematorium, a pet cemetery included in there as well. The council say they're going to operate it under their East Cam Street Scene Trading Company, which they say will generate income for them. And they argue, quite simply, not financially viable, not enough interest to bring it back as an outdoor centre, but actually as a crematorium. It's a resource which is needed in the area and can make money. But obviously, a lot of local residents, a lot of people who've grown up with the outdoor centre enjoyed it. It's been a great asset for that part of East Cambridgeshire. Keen to bring it back and to save it from being turned into a crematorium.
Yeah, but still plenty of questions to be answered. I mean, as you say, 2016 there was this big fire. Nothing's happened there since then.
No.
So, I mean, something did need to happen. I know there's concerns about vandalism and all sorts of antisocial behaviour going on there. But is there a need for a crematorium? That's what we need an answer for.
Yep.
What evidence is there for that? What evidence is there that it could not have been, or maybe still, I mean, I know the campaign is still hopeful, maybe it can be reopened as an outdoor centre, but what efforts were made to try and bring that back onto the table, genuine efforts, and why it had to be behind closed doors? I know we've spoken to the council about this before, but other answers have come out that it had to be quiet. The public taxpayer, the residents of East Cambridgeshire District Council of the region, who elect their councillors to represent them and pay their hard-earned tax money. Yeah. The reason we're told that they were kept in the dark was because, well, you can't reveal plans for crematorium, because if you do, then other competitors start scuppering plans, because it's such a cutthroat industry, apparently. I don't understand how they can scupper the plans, but we'll find out maybe.
Well, we've got the leader of the District Council coming on before 11 o'clock, but also hearing about a lot of opposition and the visions that others have for what the outdoor centre could be if it is retained in obviously its former use.
Yeah, because so many people have had wonderful memories of their children enjoying times there, enjoying times as a family as well. And when the government are telling us to get active, get fit, get outdoors, more importantly as well, I mean, everything's changed since the pandemic. Maybe this is a more viable business now after lockdown than it was before.
It's a very good question to ask.
So your thoughts and experiences of the Mepal Outdoor Centre in the past, please. Your views on it being turned into a crematorium. You may welcome it. You may think, do you know what? It's been sat there just fallow for so long now No good has come of it from the last 4 years. We need a crematorium. Maybe you've driven miles to go to a crematorium and you think, yes, do you know what? Our lives would have been made easier if this sort of facility was on our doorstep. The phone lines are open. This is your show. This is your local radio station. You choose the tracks after one. Don't forget that. But a lot to come between now and then, including our conversation about the Mepal Outdoor Centre. Much beloved of families over the years, since the 80s, really. Team building, exercise, school trips, all sorts. And we're hearing about plans which are stepping up a campaign against changes to turn it into a crematorium. And those plans were started, or rather that campaign was started by our next guest, Mercedes Rollason from the Save the Mepal Outdoor Centre campaign. Mercedes, a very good morning to you.
Hello.
So tell us, why did you start this petition? Why you personally?
Well, as soon as I heard the news, I was really upset by it, and I thought it was just time to be a bit more proactive. It's been 4 years just sitting there waiting in hope that something would happen. So, it was time to be a bit more proactive.
Yeah. And why is it important to you or your family, Mercedes?
I've got 2 young children who love being outdoors. They're really into sports and leisure activities, and having somewhere just down the road that offered and can potentially offer so much is just important.
Yeah, and so they were too young to take advantage of it, but you have done, have you, in the past, or you and your friends?
Yeah, I have.
And so you wanted them to have that same opportunity growing up in the areas as you did?
Definitely. It was amazing.
What do you hope to achieve from this campaign? Because, from what we're hearing from the council and the plans, the extensive, well-developed plans, it sounds a bit like a done deal already. What do you hope to achieve?
I personally don't think it's a done deal. I think as long as the community, which is definitely being shown now, continue to come together and we can show the potential that it can have, the possibility of 8 jobs from the crematorium could actually be hundreds with the right vision behind it, which is all coming together right now.
And do you think there's been a lack of vision? Do you think, do you want it reopened as it was before, or do you think it can be something different, something better?
Oh, it can be bigger and better. It really can. I think, it's 2020. We've adapted so much in every aspect of our lives. I think before, where it was just one person who ran it, I think we can change that and have a community-based organisation to oversee it and seek a range of external organisations to deliver the activities, again, boosting businesses and encouraging the community.
Yeah, so what would it look like in your eyes then, potentially, if you could? It would have all the outdoor activities, the canoeing and the rock climbing and all that kind of stuff, but what else? Community facilities, cafes, what?
Yeah, we've had so many ideas. You have outdoor photography, willow weaving sessions, flower arranging sessions, bikeability. Honestly, it can be endless.
Yeah. Do you feel you're a bit on catch-up here, a bit of a standing start? Because, the plans for the crematorium have been going on in the background without the local community knowing about it. Has it been a job for you to sort of tell people what's happening and get them excited about a potential different future for the site?
Not at all. I think there's a lot of people behind me, and it has just come out the woodwork, really. Everybody's on board. Don't think there is a standing start, no.
Yeah. How many people have signed the petition to date?
I think it's about 2,100.
Okay. And what are your plans for the weekend for this campaign then? Because it's stepping up, isn't it, significantly this weekend? What have you got planned?
Oh, definitely. We have a selfie challenge. We have some posters. If you follow us on the socials, you can gather them from there, print them off. We want to see them as a selfie challenge. We want to see you doing your dog walks, any activities you do, take a picture. We want to see it and see what is around us. We've got some letters and some posters you can sign off and print to your MP. Continue sharing your memories. And we've got some kids colouring as well and some window displays we'd love to see.
But you still think there's hope then for this to be reopened as an outdoor centre?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Mercedes, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us. All the very best. Mercedes Rollason from the Save the Mepal Outdoor Centre campaign. We'll, of course, hear from the council later on in their plans to turn the site into a crematorium. This is from Stuart. Hello, Jeremy. Hello, Stuart. I live in Mepal Village, and in the past, my now adult son spent many times at the outdoor centre, either on day or afternoon trips or on longer visits under canvas with the cubs and the scouts. So I do have fond memories of the place. It was a super facility, and in our case made all the better because of its proximity to home. Sadly, we now live in different times. I'm sure the local council would love to still be funding it, if only they had the money. We know where that debate leads, of course. Personally, I feel that the idea of a crematorium there is a fair and sympathetic use of what is a blessed patch of green and trees and wildlife along that stretch of road. I fear it will either be that or more gravel extraction, says Stuart. Thank you for your thoughts there. Mary, morning to you. Just up the road from Mepal in Chatteris. She says the outdoor centre was a marvellous place for children, and I'm glad that the people from Mepal are protesting any change of use. Children have nowhere to go to do things these days, and we don't need any more crematoriums. Hello, Simon. He says, listener Simon, I did some work at the Mepal Outdoor Centre about 5 or 6 years ago. Sadly, it was struggling back then, but it would be a very good idea to get it up and running again if the funding was available. But sadly, I think this probably won't happen. But we do need more places like this, though. Well, let's speak to Councillor Mark Inskip. He's the Lib Dem councillor for Mepal at East Cambs District Council. Very good morning to you, Councillor Inskip.
Good morning.
Simon, sad to see it go, but kind of understands. I mean, it has been sitting there doing nothing for the last 4 years. I mean, if it was a viable business as an outdoor centre, wouldn't somebody have picked it up by now?
Well, I haven't had that opportunity because if you follow the timeline back, the council looked for a new operator to operate the centre after the previous trust handed back the keys at the start of 2017, and then announced in 2018 that it had somebody that it was working with to reopen the centre in the summer of 2019. And then in September last year, the council made a decision to say that wasn't working anymore and that they were going to explore other options. And we knew already that a number of groups and individuals had already approached the council with the idea of trying to get the centre up and running. But what we found out in the meantime is actually the plans for the crematorium were already well advanced. As I think we'd heard earlier in your show, that's been happening in secret, and we didn't hear about those plans. So as opposition councillors, we didn't hear about those plans until the 25th of July this year. The public didn't hear about them until the 31st of July. And yet I've been investigating, and the council engaged and started to pay a consultant to work on the crematorium feasibility study in January last year. So when we were led to believe that the council was still looking to reopen the facility with a new operator, that crematorium feasibility plan had already been kicked off. By August of last year, they were paying architects and various other payments. So already more than £50,000 has been spent out before that secret meeting took place last month, and before those crematorium plans were revealed. So I don't think anyone who wanted to see the centre reopened as an outdoor centre at that point had a chance because the council was doing other things.
Well, I mean, we'll speak to the leader of East Cambs District Council in the next 20 minutes or so. I mean, I've been following this story in the Ely Standard, probably like yourself. You know, they've done a great job following this. And she says, you know, they did their damnedest as a council to try and get this reopened as an outdoor centre. Do you think that is genuine then?
Well, we know that they've been working for at least 18 months on the crematorium plans. And yet we were led to believe, even in June, when one of my colleagues asked about what was being done to explore the opportunities to reopen the outdoor centre, we were told there isn't any news yet because it's being delayed by COVID-19. There's the reality we now know. The truth we know is that is that already those crematorium plans have been worked on for a year and a half.
So do you feel you were lied to? Do you feel that residents of East Cambs were lied to?
They were certainly kept in the dark in a way that I just don't think is defendable at all. You were certainly given the impression that the council was still looking to reopen and find some way of reopening those facilities. And we know, because people have approached me since the announcement has come out, saying that they approached the council with some proposals and never were never followed up. So I think certainly people were misled in terms of what the council was really doing behind closed doors. I think that is undisputable.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I think that the strength of feeling. You've heard from Mercedes early on about her petition. In only a few weeks, more than 2,000 people have signed that. Lots of people have come forward with ideas on what they'd like to see in a revitalised outdoor centre. And at the time, with sort of the COVID restrictions, we know it's much more difficult to do leisure activities indoors. And if you do it outdoors, there are much more possibilities. You don't have the same sort of restrictions. And we know the government is explaining, is encouraging people to exercise more. So all of those things are coming together to say, actually, there's a big benefit in trying to retain and get the outdoor centre running again.
So 2,000 people have signed that petition to see it reopened as an outdoor activity centre. You represent Mepal. How many people are crying out for a crematorium, saying they have to travel too far to say goodbye to their loved ones? Do you hear that?
I've not heard that from any. To be honest, no one has approached me to say they're crying out for that. I think the bizarre thing is, if you were looking to build a crematorium in East Cambridge for East Cambridgeshire residents, I think the outdoor centre, if you look at a map, would probably be the last place you'd choose. It's 12 minutes up the road to the Fenland crematorium in March. For residents of East Cambridgeshire, so people may not know the geography, but East Cambridgeshire stretches down towards Bottisham and the villages on the outskirts of Newmarket. If you live in Bottisham, it's a much shorter journey to get to Cambridge Crematorium than it is to get to the Mepal Outdoor Centre. If you live in Wood Ditton or Ashley or any of those small villages, it's much easier, or even to Kennet, where the council is proposing a major new development of houses. All of those sites are much closer to the West Suffolk Crematorium than it is to Mepal. So actually a crematorium at Mepal would make no sense to a lot of East Cambridgeshire residents, and it would be in direct competition with a neighbouring crematorium 12 minutes away. So it makes no geographical or business sense to put a crematorium there, even if there was a need in East Cambridgeshire. And I think maybe there is a need, but let's look at the right location from a crematorium. Let's not look at abandoning the outdoor centre when there's so many things are changing now that make it an interesting possibility to reopen.
I just wonder, do you get a feeling it's a done deal? That's going to be a crematorium. There's going to be no chance of it being revived as an outdoor centre?
There's a couple of major steps that have to happen that mean it isn't a done deal. So the first thing is it has to get planning permission, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of objections to that. No doubt from the neighbouring operator who will say, well, there isn't a demand given that we already have a crematorium nearby. There'll be a lot of residents raising concerns about whether that's the appropriate use of the site. That's one aspect. And the other aspect is whether the business case holds together for all of the reasons that I've given you. Unfortunately, as a councillor, I'm not allowed, although I've seen that some of the details of the outline business case, I'm not allowed to share those details. But if you look just by way of comparison, there's a new crematorium being built in Huntingdon at the moment, and that's costing there the town council of the order of about £7 million. So it's a lot of money of effectively public money to put at stake if the business case isn't a solid one. So I think again on those both on the business case grounds and on the planning application, there are two really big hurdles that could fail.
Okay.
And I think there is a much better vision in terms of what we could do with the community for the outdoor centre.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Councillor Inskip. Appreciate it. You take care. You stay well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Mark Inskip, Lib Dem Councillor for Mepal on East Cambs District Council. We will pose those questions raised to the leader of East Cambs District Council. Any questions you may want answered as well, and your thoughts on changing the Mepal Outdoor Centre into a crematorium. Brian in March says the centre is not financially viable. It needs to be turned into something rather than just lying there as a target for arsonists. Nothing has happened on the site since 2016. Let's have a chat with Councillor Anna Bailey, who is the leader of East Cambs District Council. Very good morning to you, Councillor Bailey.
Morning, Jeremy.
I know you've spoken to us about this in the past on our breakfast team, but just for context, can you just explain to the listeners, explain to taxpayers in East Cambs District as well, why these plans were going on without their knowledge behind the scenes?
Yeah, of course. We had this ambition to develop a crematorium somewhere in East Cambridgeshire. As far back as our corporate plan in 2017, it was actually included and listed on our corporate plan, which is the list of things that we're hoping to achieve over a period of time. And the minute we started investigating it, we received expert external advice that said if you do this in the public gaze, your chances of actually delivering a crematorium reduce dramatically, and it's highly likely that generally national chains of crematoria company will come in and put in a rival proposal, sometimes a proposal that they don't even intend to actually build out, but if they're successful in doing that, it will completely scupper our ability to see this through. And we think that people shouldn't have to travel such distances to say goodbye to their loved ones, and we wanted to see if this was feasible. So we were doing these investigative works, and the external advice was, if you do this in the public arena, your chances of actually delivering anything potentially sort of, just disappear, really.
Okay, but surely if there is such a strong case for a crematorium in that region, those plans couldn't be scuppered. I mean, I'm sure East Cambs District Council Planning Office might think it could go through.
We've seen it happen in other areas, so the National Crematoria Company are very, very skilled and adept at coming in, sweeping in and putting in, proposals on, doesn't even have to be on land that they don't own. And once they've got that through the planning process and got permission and got a viable project, it's difficult to show that there's a need for, another crematorium in the district. So we needed to get to a relatively advanced stage before we were able to be public about this, which is what we've been trying to do and what we've been working towards.
Okay, Councillor Bailey, can I put this point to you? I'm sorry, the phone line's a little bit dodgy. Councillor Inskip, we just heard there, councillor for Mepal, said he feels that he was misled. Other councillors were misled. So were the public who pay their council tax, because consultants were being paid, architects were being paid to look into a crematorium as early as January of 2019, and yet they were sort of still being told that there were plans were being looked into to resurrect the Mepal Outdoor Centre, as late as sort of the summer of that same year.
That was absolutely the case. We were full steam ahead. We did everything we could possibly do to try and retain the use of the Mepal Outdoor the Mepal Outdoor Centre site with its existing fun outdoor activity use. And the leader of the Liberal Democrat group at East Cambs knows this perfectly well, because she sat on the working party that oversaw this work. We went out to tender twice. The first round was completely unsuccessful. We didn't, the quality of the bids just wasn't there at all. There was no viable proposal on the table. So we went out again, and we're very excited to receive a proposal from a national organisation that ran sites elsewhere that we were full steam ahead with. We were awarded the contract. We were incredibly excited. And then when that organisation started doing further work, looking at the actual site in reality, they started trying to change the terms of the proposal to the point where it just became utterly unviable. And they were citing serious problems with downturn in the leisure industry, I'm worried about their income projections.
You can understand, though. You can understand. Sorry to interrupt. But you can understand why listeners would maybe doubt how genuine your efforts were to raise. Well, no. Can I just finish this question? That you can understand from because the listener will be saying this. You can understand from their point of view. I wonder how much of an effort the council made to look into resurrecting the site when 6 months before they've already started the ball rolling to turn into a crematorium.
Part of your question, Jeremy, which was why are there receipts going out to organisations looking into crematoriums? And that's because we had started the work, as we'd said in our corporate plan, we had started the work to investigate a crematorium somewhere in the site and in the district, and some, preliminary work, a lot of preliminary work had to be undertaken in order to do that, to identify potential sites. So the two are not related. We were doing work in the background, and we were absolutely committed to delivering the operator that we had landed for Mepal Outdoor Centre, and we were devastated when they threw the towel in and decided that they couldn't go ahead. But the important thing that I do want, because I'm aware that we're probably short of time, and there's a really important thing that I do want to get across here, which keeps being overlooked, is that we have always said, from when this came out in the public domain, that we feel the site still has an opportunity to offer outdoor activity use, and that is what we're working towards. That has to be dictated. We've been doing lots of surveys on the site around biodiversity and ecology, and the site is home to some important species and habitats that need to be respected. But we think, it's a large site, and we think there are good opportunities to offer fishing and other recreational activities, and we are very much working towards that and hoping to be able to deliver a range of activities on that site that I think people will be excited about. So we've always said that right from the beginning, and the next phase of work is to develop a landscape plan for the site, and the biodiversity and ecology will dictate what the extent of what is possible in terms of outdoor activity use. But we think that there are opportunities around that, and that's what we're working to develop.
I just wonder if, you mentioned landscape, I wonder if actually the landscape of society has actually changed since the pandemic. I mean, the government, this message hasn't changed. Get outdoors, get fit, we need to tackle childhood, we have to tackle childhood obesity, but now, more than ever, we need to get outdoors where we can to avoid the risk of coronavirus. Councillor Inskip said that, a Huntington crematorium facility may cost about £7 million. So if that's going to be a similar price for one on the Mepal site, I mean, £7 million could build a magnificent outdoor activity centre and could breathe new life into this area and get people outdoors and get people active. Is that not a possibility?
Well, it's only viable to spend something like £7 million if, of course, you're going to have the income to support. The council doesn't have £7 million. You have to have a viable business proposal that will support, payment of a £7 million loan, which is significant. And I think, I have wonderful memories of Mepal Outdoor Centre as a kid. I went there. I grew up round here, and in its real heyday, I think it was well used, but it has always struggled financially. And I think the reality is that many people went 2 or 3 times, and that has been the issue over the years. But as I say, we are looking at how extensive recreational outdoor use we can offer on that site. Okay, just very quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but we are tight for time. I just want to know, for the campaigners from Save the Mepal Outdoor Centre campaign who are planning, lots of things to happen this weekend, is the crematorium pretty much a done deal, or is there any hope for them if they can gather public opinion and get a better plan for its future? Listen, it's not an either or. The crematorium plans are at a very early stage. They've got a lot of stages still to go through. What I'm saying to all of our residents is that we are hopeful that we can deliver other recreational outdoor activities on this site, and that's what we're working towards. But it has to be dictated by the biodiversity and natural assets of the site, which any proposal coming forward, now that we know the important ecology that's on the site, is going to have to respect the natural assets that are on the site and hopefully build on those and make them an important part of what's going to be available there. And I am very much working towards trying to offer recreational activities on the site. So I urge those people that want that to happen to work with us and look at how we can make the whole plan work together so that, there is a financially viable, sustainable future for everything, for all the uses.
Councillor Bailey, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. You stay well. Councillor Anna Bailey, leader of the East Cambs District Council.
A petition to save Mepal Outdoor Centre from becoming a crematorium has reached 2,000 signatures. East Cambridgeshire District Council want to redevelop the site to include a burial area and pet cemetery. Councillors say it may still offer open-air activities, but Mercedes Rollason from the Save Mepal Outdoor Centre campaign says the area has more potential.
Oh, it can be bigger and better. It really can. I think before, where it was just one person who ran it, I think we can change that and have a community-based organisation to oversee it and seek a range of external organisations to deliver the activities.
Doreen, listening this morning. I have watched the live East Cambridgeshire District Council meetings on Zoom and have listened to the reports on your programme this morning. The councillor, the leader of East Cambs, Anna Bailey, was trying to defend the secrecy from other councillors. I mean, her defence was that once you put these plans on the table, you make them public. If they're not a long way down the line, national crematoriums start ganging up on you and scupper the plans. They've done it before, they'll do it again. But Doreen says, I heard her trying to defend the secrecy from other councillors, but having watched the meetings, to me, it was obvious that they were blatantly misleading their colleagues and parishioners. I hope the next election reflects the views of the people who care. Doreen, thank you very much indeed